Hi, and welcome back to CVC Interviews. My name is Joyce Vaudrey from Vernon, and today I'm meeting with a very special guest. I've talked to many people from this facility, and I'm really happy to introduce to you Sharon Redfern from Cornerstone. Welcome.
Thank you.
I am thrilled you're here today because Melanie and I are really strong advocates for community involvement. And when she mentioned that you were going to be here tonight, I was thrilled. I love what you do at Cornerstone. Can you tell people who might not be familiar with it, what is Cornerstone and what is it that it has to offer?
Well, Cornerstone is a faith-based nonprofit. We've been around for about 40 years. We started with one homeless shelter. We currently have 3 shelters. We have an adult shelter, we have a family shelter, and we have a shelter that's a collaboration with a local church that is for parents with young children. We also have a community kitchen where we serve 2 hot meals a day. We have a food cupboard where we give out groceries to people twice a week. We have a diaper bank, so we give out diapers to families who need them. We have a clothing bank, so we give out clothing and tchotchkes and furniture and all kinds of things that people need. A lot of times the clothing bank gives out items to people from our shelters who have found housing. Yes. And we give them the furniture they need to move in and towels and sheets and all the good stuff so they can move in and be, all settled. They get food from us, so they're good to go.
It's what's called wraparound services.
Correct.
I love the diaper bank idea. I didn't even know about it until last year's provider fair. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was fascinating that there were so many things available to people and they just may not know about it. Mm-hmm. So understanding what's going on over there at Cornerstone is great. Our neighbors are huge fans of Cornerstone. They're the ones who told us about it. Bernie and Nancy have been going there for years, helping out at the soup kitchen. So it's that time of year right now where we're talking, it's cold out. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about the soup kitchen. What are some of the things people can do to help you guys out at the soup kitchen?
Well, we're always happy to get donations of food. We get food from a variety of places. We get food from Food Share. We do something called Retail Rescue, where we go to local grocery stores and pick up all the food that they have. So we go to a couple of Stop and Shops, we go to Big Y's, we go to Aldi's, we go to Price Chopper, we go to Walmart. So we lug probably 27,000 to 30,000 pounds of food a month. Wow. At Retail Rescue.
Wow.
We also have recently partnered with Midwest Food Bank.
Okay.
So we get a lot of food from them. And then one of our biggest ways of getting food is from donors, people like your neighbors, yeah, who bring us items. Today we just got a huge delivery from a local church of all kinds of seasonal food. So at Thanksgiving time we get a lot of turkeys. We get so many turkeys that we generally can't even give them all out, but what's wonderful is we're also able to have turkey dinner at least once a month throughout the year, which is pretty enjoyable.
It is. We enjoy things like cranberry sauce year round mm-hmm. ourselves. Mm-hmm. On your website, which I love because it gave me an opportunity to look at all the different ways that people can help. Mm-hmm. So when I clicked on donations, we just talked about the soup kitchen and that, yeah, if I go to BJ's and I see an extra thing of mustard, yeah, mm-hmm. you'd be happy to get that. But for your food pantry, you like to get items that are more individual or mm-hmm. family-friendly sizes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, for example, cereal, the smaller size box of cereal. Because a lot of the folks who come to the food pantry are older or they're coming with children. They can't carry a lot of things with them, so having smaller sizes are better. Oh. Also, nothing in glass that could break.
Yeah,
which is also heavier. So a lot of times we're looking for basics, mac and cheese, shelf-ready meals, things that are easy to make without a lot of additional ingredients. Pancake mix that you can make with water.
Yes.
Things like that. And we also have a lot of people who may be in living situations where they live like in a boarding home or something like that, so they don't have access to a kitchen. a full kitchen, so they need to be able to make things that are simple. For the backpack program that we have where we send the food home, sometimes that's kiddos who are going home and making a meal for themselves.
Yes.
So it has to be, again, something simple that they can make without a lot of fuss and muss.
Yes, very much so. And one of the things that was interesting too is we were talking about the expenses incurred in running an organization like that. So regular people like myself, even our $20, $25, that can go a long way.
It can.
In a place like that.
The average cost, they think, for a meal through like the amount of food that we give out to make a meal is roughly $2.
Oh.
So what I encourage people to do, because part of my job is raising money, is, if you can't afford to give us $100 right now, but you could give us $10 a month, and then, it adds up to a lot more money, which is always a concern. We get the majority of our funding actually comes from individual donations, which is actually true of most nonprofits. 67% of most nonprofits, the majority of their money comes from individual donations.
Wow.
And we're very lucky. We have a lot of loyal, what they call recurring donors. They give to us weekly or they give to us monthly. And they may give a small amount, but over the course of a year, it adds up to a much bigger donation.
It sure does.
Which is very helpful for us.
How are the ways people can send financial donations? Do you accept cash apps like Venmo and PayPal?
We don't do that, but we do. You can pay online. We do have online giving on our website, so you can pay with a card. When we do events, we just recently had one of our fundraisers, and we started using Squares, which was kind of an interesting experience. So we could take cards at this event. So yeah, there's a variety of ways. A lot of times people will just drop off money at the kitchen.
Oh.
Or at one of our shelters. Our shelters are open 24/7, so there's almost always somebody there. So we encourage people, if they want to drop off an item or something they don't want to put like in the bins, they can drop it off at the shelters because there are people there.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So you like to take the funds the old-fashioned way, cash, check, credit cards, always good.
Yep.
And also your Cornerstone is eligible for matching donations from companies.
We are.
So make sure, everybody check that out. Make sure if your company matches funds, that'd be an awesome way to raise some extra money.
It is. The other really nice thing is if you're an Amazon user, Cornerstone is one of the charities that's on Amazon. So if you designate Cornerstone as your charity, from then on, every time you shop, we get a small percentage.
Is this the Smile Amazon?
Yes,
so
Smile.
You have to have that truncated thing on your Amazon account that says Amazon Smile.
Right, but once you've done that
once
the
you've
first
done
time,
it, you never have to
every
do it
time
again.
you order, you never have to do it again. Doesn't cost you any additional money, but we do get something from it. One of the things that also, we do have events throughout the year. If you go to our website, we do have a Facebook page. We tell everybody, what's happening. In the fall, we do our Soup Fest, which is an event where we have 3 or 4 restaurants. They all make soup. They get a prize. We do a raffle at the same time. At Christmas time, we do something called the Scrooge Scramble, which means people get up on Christmas morning, crazy people, get up on Christmas morning and run a 5K out, which I say crazy people because I would never do it, but there are people
I see them through my window and I just sip my coffee saying, bye.
Looks like fun. We have that. We have a Good Friday walk that we do. We have some other events that happen that can change year to year. So there's always fun things people can be part of that also help support us.
So you have a lot of annual events that you do that you're talking about, the runs and things. What are some of the activities that kind of bring a lot of donations in or notice, like in the spring or the summertime? We
do a lot of fairs. We go out and talk to a lot of people. We try to do, during the summer when they have the outdoor purchase, I'm blanking on the word. We do a lot of those kind of things, the Ellington
Farmers markets?
Farmers market, thank you. It's been a long day. And I'm old. But we do the farmers markets, we do church events, we do all kinds of things where we can talk about what Cornerstone does. One of the best things about Cornerstone is we have a lot of volunteers. We have probably 150 volunteers.
Wow.
And we know that a lot of our volunteers are ambassadors for Cornerstone. They go out, they talk about Cornerstone,
Like
they
my
talk
neighbors.
to their friends. Exactly. So they are then bringing people to us, which is helpful. So then if they get a letter from us, or they hear about us, or they hear about one of our appeals, they say, oh, that's what Bernie was telling me about. So maybe I should, send them some money. So that's really wonderful. Our volunteers are, not only are they the backbone of all of our operations, our food pantry is all volunteer. Our clothing bank is volunteer. The soup kitchen is 90% volunteer. Obviously our cooks and those kind of people have to be certified paid employees, and the same with the shelter. But all of the support staff are generally volunteers. We could not operate without our volunteers. So.
Wow, I'm really happy to hear that. I think, from my perspective, the reason you do have so many is it's such a great organization. It offers so many different services, and it gives people like myself different ways to help when I can't financially help you. Mm-hmm. So I do know that you guys got a lot of my old shoes.
Me too.
I have trouble parting with shoes, but if I know someone could use them, I'm hoping I can help somebody out. I do really like that, and I have referred other people that I know to donate for their items instead of just bringing it to a store or a donation place like that. You can bring it there where you can help people that are transitioning from homelessness.
Yes.
Which that's a hurdle, man. If I could help, I'll help as much as I possibly can. Now you also mentioned Food Share. Is that an organization?
Food Share is actually a large nonprofit that works with most of the food pantries and any kind of food-related organization. They get a lot of their food from Food Share. So there used to be two separate ones. There was Food Share up in the northern part of the state, and there was Connecticut Food Company, something to that effect, down in the lower part of the state. They recently merged, and they're now Connecticut Food Share. So like that retail rescue program I was talking about, they coordinate that.
That's great.
So, they get in touch with us and they say, XYZ store has extra food. Do you want to go pick some of that up? So we have our weekly ones, and then every now and then we get a special one. And what's important about that is right now we're seeing a lot of people, our numbers are up in all of our programs. And we're seeing a lot of people who are coming to us and saying, I'm about to be evicted, or I'm about to lose my housing. And so what we're encouraging people is, one of the ways that you can save some money and pay your rent or pay your electric bill or pay your gas bill is to come eat at the community kitchen. Come get food from us at the food pantry. Save that money and use that to maintain your living situation, because it's really hard to find someplace to move now. So it's so much better for people if they can stay where they are. So if there's anything we can do to be a safety net for them so that they don't lose their housing, we want to do that.
The other thing I like too is that you don't ask questions. If someone shows up and they need something, you give it to them.
Exactly.
And I think by having that cost avoidance, you can redirect your money that you would spend on the diaper bank, the food, and now you can put that towards your heating bill and your rent. So I hadn't really looked at it that way. That's a really great way of looking at it. You can help people stay in their homes by helping in other areas.
Exactly. Because that's a big expense. Food is a huge expense right now, and we know that.
If someone did need to use the food bank for the first time, what's something that, what advice would you give them?
Well, although we don't charge anything for any of our programs, the food bank in particular, because we get food from the government and some other programs, they do have to bring identification with them the first time, and they have to register for something called TFAP. Temporary Food Assistance Program. And you do it one time, and once you've done it, you're eligible to come in and use the bank all the time. If people have an emergency and it's during a time that's not open, we try to accommodate that. We can't always guarantee we can do it, but we do try to accommodate people. We don't want anybody to be hungry.
Right.
We got a lot of food.
And the soup kitchen's open for 2 meals a day.
Yep, they open for a lunch meal at 11:30. And they open in the evenings for a dinner. On the weekends, right now, we're only open for the lunch meal, but we try to give people a lot of food to carry them over. We're looking at doing 2 meals a day. It's just coordinating volunteers to have enough people to do that.
Oh yeah, you need 2 volunteers just to coordinate the volunteers.
Yep, exactly.
So yes, I can truly appreciate that. So some of the, you are the director of...
Executive director, yeah.
Executive director. And your role, you mentioned that part of your role is to generate funds. What are some of the other things that you do?
I do grant writing. I go out and do things like this, go out and try to talk about Cornerstone. I do a lot of work in the community. I'm part of a lot of community groups, so I attend a lot of meetings. I seem to do a lot of
networking, you know, it's the way to get things done nowadays.
It is.
You know,
It
you
is.
really got to network, and so going to meetings,
Yep.
getting to see some. You know, I've been to a couple of meetings. I used to belong to like a business networking groups, and yeah, we'd meet at great restaurants and everything.
yeah.
So that was the perk of doing that too. So.
You know, I'm a member of Rotary, and that still is live.
Oh, yeah.
But luckily for us, like a lot of the meetings that we have, we're part of something called the Greater Hartford Coordinated Access Network, or the CAN. And that's what kind of coordinates all homeless shelters in the Greater Hartford area, so we all work together. And that is fortunately still on Zoom, because it used to be a trip into Hartford like 4 times a week. Now it's all on Zoom. So that is kind of nice. You miss the camaraderie of being together, but all the driving right now is not so bad.
I try not to complain about going into Hartford. Living in Vernon, it's not a far drive.
No.
And the other night we went into the city and I was dreading parking. We only paid $7. I'm like, well, I can handle that. But it's, I love Zoom.
Yeah, I love going into Hartford too, and I don't mind going to the meetings. It's just, you know, it's the time that it takes out of your day.
Yeah.
That you know, if you don't have to get in your car and drive anywhere,
Yeah.
that's 15 or 20 minutes you could be doing something else.
Hey, I spent 10 minutes looking for matching socks when I left the house today, okay? So, you know.
Been there, done that. I actually walked into work one day wearing 2 different Birkenstocks. They were the same color, but they were 2 different styles. And
Oh, my
I didn't realize till like 11 o'clock when I looked down. So.
All done this. My sister took a picture at the airport with 2 different shoes, different height heels, different colors, 2 totally different shoes. She didn't know until she went through security at the airport.
I think it's kind of a sign of the fact that we're all so busy right now. We're busy because we're trying to help other people who are busy trying to survive.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the people that we see have no resources. They don't have the coping skills right now because they're just tapped out. Yeah. They may have had them at one point, but right now they've been underwater for so long. They just can't muster it together. So we're there to give them the support, to say we're here for you. We care about what happens to you. We also are getting people who have never been in this situation before, and they don't know how to work through things to get what they need. They're not aware of what's out there. They're not aware of programs, and that's another part of our job, is to say, what's going on? What can we do that will help you? What kind of things are impeding you from moving forward? Yeah. And they may not know that there's a program out there that will solve that little part that then builds onto something bigger and ends up with them getting a better job, or ends up with them getting transportation, or that then it's a big cycle.
It is.
You know?
So if someone was worried right now about their housing situation, they could reach out to you folks and say, okay, this is where I'm at. And you could help them break down the different services. So you do have services for individuals and families. Doesn't matter your age or station. It's if you're having trouble, give you folks a call.
Right. And you know, we look at kind of all the major stress areas: housing, food insecurity, transportation, childcare, you know, energy, all of those kind of things, and kind of figure out what the priority is. What's the first thing we can help that will make the other things easier? So we have a case manager who's available. In the winter, it's a little harder because of the end of the year and the beginning of the new year. We're in a system called winter warming, and we're taking in extra people because the state does not want people, obviously, to be found, you know, dead on the street. So we do that. So that's a particularly difficult time for us because we're doing a lot of extra work. But for the most part, we do have a case manager who's available to work with families and sit down and take a look at them, because sometimes a fresh eye helps you see something that if you're so stressed out and you're so overwhelmed, you can't see that little thing that if you just looked at that might really make things better for you.
Well, that's what's great about having Cornerstone, being able to offer so many different services, is that you can customize it to whatever somebody might need. And hopefully stave off homelessness, as you were saying, by coming up with these different strategies. There are a lot of things out there that you may not be able to offer directly at Cornerstone, but give
we
them.
can tell them about it.
So
exactly.
we have your website on the screen, the bottom crawl they call it, and we want to make sure that people know that you're available. That even though you may not work 7 days a week, that Cornerstone's available to them.
Right, and the other thing too is if you're having a housing issue or a food issue, the best thing you can do is call 211. 211 is the clearinghouse for most issues of human needs.
Yes.
And it may be that they can do something. If you're close to being homeless, they may be able to divert you and find a solution at that level that will prevent that from happening. So you don't end up coming to us to be in our shelter. They may be able to prevent that. So, and that is the only way to get into a shelter in Connecticut. You can't come to us directly. You have to go to 211, and then 211 makes the referral. So
whichever would make sense for that individual.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. 211, I learned about that soon after coming to Connecticut, that's a great clearinghouse for everything from mental health issues to regular health issues to housing too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a great idea. I'm glad you brought that up and mentioned that. And I was not aware you had to go through that process for shelter.
To use any of our other services, you could just show up at the door.
But it would make sense. You're going to be living there.
Yeah. Well, because what used to happen was if somebody found themselves homeless, they had to call every single shelter in Connecticut till they found one that had a bed.
Oh,
you know, and if your funds are limited and you have a track phone, let's say, and your minutes are down, you don't have time to do that.
Right.
Now you call 211. 211 does that for you. Okay, they find the bed for you. You don't have to do that. They do the work. So that's why they are now the lead agency to get into the shelters.
Excellent. Excellent. What a great way to end off today. So I really appreciate it. I thought I knew everything there was to know about. So I'm always happy to hear that there's more to know. Unfortunately, you guys are still in business. And, you know, the idea is to plan yourselves out of business. As we were saying earlier, I don't think that's going to really happen, unfortunately. But you, like other great organizations, are growing and changing and adding services. So I guess what I want to say is thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing the information about Cornerstone. We want everyone to know that there are services out there, and you don't have to be totally destitute to reach out to get some assistance. So I'd like to say thank you again for coming, and please reach out to Cornerstone if you need something or if you'd like to donate money or your time. Thank you again.